If you're wondering what to read in 2023, we are here to help. We're going to be reviewing some of our favorite reads or reading highlights or things like that, as well as some of our favorites for littles, for those of you looking to get your children involved or loving reading. Cait, would you kind of introduce yourself and some of your reading background?
Yeah. Hi, I'm Cait. Welcome to a Novel Family podcast. Is that what we're calling
That's
it?
great. Yeah. Or podcasts and other.
Okay. I am a reading specialist for a local charter school here in Southern California. And my main hobby, especially since becoming a mom, is reading. So, yeah, that's about me.
I get to be Cait's husband. I'm Dave, and I'm an English teacher at a high school where I teach special education English. I said English a few times in that,
Yep.
but hey, that's what we're doing here. So should we jump right into it?
Yeah.
Okay. Why drag it out? What was your favorite read of 2022?
My favorite read of 2022 was The Nightingale.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It was actually my second time reading it.
Oh, I don't know if I remember that.
Yeah, I read it a few years ago.
Mm.
And I loved it so much. And a few friends of mine, we were reading it together. And it's still one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I read it in less than a week.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for a book that thick and being a mom, was
a feat.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah. And would you, I don't know, are we like interviewing each other about all these books? Anyways, do you feel like you read it quickly because it's an easy read or just because you were that like into it?
I think both.
Okay.
I love multiple perspective books. And World War II historical fiction, as you know, and you will come to find out.
Yep. That's your jam.
Yes. So hearing the different perspectives of two sisters living in France during the start and duration of World War II was just very interesting to me. And it was a pretty easy read.
Nice. Okay. Right on.
Thank you. What was your favorite?
Me? I get so nervous talking about myself. My favorite read of the year was Jade City by Fonda Lee. It didn't intentionally, but this kind of ended up being the year of me reading like urban fantasy. A lot of my fantasy reading prior to this year was like, out in the wilderness or the mines of Moria, right? And like bows and arrows and swords. And I ended up reading a lot, including Jade City this year, like taking place more in like more modern settings and like oftentimes in like a city. But anyways, Jade City was my favorite read of this year. It had kind of a like mafia yakuza vibe to it, as well as a unique magical system involving Jade. Yep, I know. Well, gave that away. So that was my favorite read of this year. And I actually, when I was reading it, I didn't think I realized that it was part of a trilogy. So that will be part of my 2023 plan. Just finishing that.
Makes sense.
Yeah. All right. What's next? Okay. So the number one book you ended up recommending to others for you
was The Nightingale.
Yeah, it was your number one. It was your favorite.
Yes. But I also really liked Firekeeper's Daughter by Angeline. I don't think I'm going to pronounce her name correctly.
No judgments here. The internet's very kind.
By Angeline Booley. It's about a Native American girl who is trying to help the FBI find a drug ring.
Yes, I remember you talking about this one now.
Tribe and area. I thought it was a really cool concept. I loved her perspective, and it also kind of launched me into like the fantasy, not fantasy, the like mystery thriller genre that I've been reading the last few months.
Yes.
And I'm like super into right
Yeah.
now.
Okay. So in a way, it kind of like opened up another genre for you a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Mm-hmm.
The book I found myself recommending the most often was the Broken Earth Trilogy by N.K. Jemisin. I really appreciated the kind of like twists and turns it took, and it's written in a very specific way, and it's kind of, I think many readers might find it odd. I want to say it's second person, I'm trying to remember, but it's written in a style that you don't typically see. So it reads a little differently, but you'll find out that it's done very specifically and for a purpose. Okay. But just I'd never read a book that kind of twisted me about quite as much as this one. So I enjoy trying to get other people to experience that same kind of reading experience. Mm-hmm.
So let's see. Underrated read. So what was your underrated read for?
For me, it was Changes by Jim Butcher. It's part of the Dresden Files that, as you know, I've been immersed in. The Changes is book 10 of the book so far. And so I had read like through book 8 and originally had just kind of been like, I get it now. Like, I've experienced the Dresden Files. I'm going to move on to some other stuff. And I started, like, reading blogs and watching videos of people talking about, like, their favorite fantasy series and books and stuff. And I started hearing, like, multiple people say the Dresden Files gets better as it goes. And some people very specifically were, like, Changes, book 10. Like is one of my top like fantasy books, period. So I picked it back up, and the internet was right. It does seem to be like ratcheting up and getting better and better, and by book 10 you're like so invested into these characters also, and a lot of them stick around, and in fact in Changes specifically, like a lot of the characters show up. It's I've described it as like the Avengers of the Dresden Files. Like over 10 books you meet so many characters, and in book 10 a lot of them feature in it. So that was my very long way of saying that Changes by Jim Butcher was my underrated read of the year. What about you?
Originally this category was going to be like surprise, a read that surprised you.
Yes.
And we just changed it a few minutes ago to underrated. So I originally had Where the Crawdads Sing because it started so slow. And I actually put it down and wasn't planning to read it again. But then...
unfinished, you're saying.
Unfinished.
Okay.
It was on my do not finish list.
Right.
Because it was just so slow. It's kind of like, okay, I get it. Get to the point. But then those same friends that I have been reading these books with this year, that was on their to be read list. So I was like, okay, I'll give it another try.
Yeah.
And I'm glad I did because it's really cool how everything ties together. But underrated, I would probably say, is Firekeeper's Daughter.
Okay.
I hadn't heard of that book until my friends suggested it, and I ended up reading it way before they did. Yeah. And I was like, come on, you gotta read it, read it, like hurry up. And I have since lent it to other people, and I just feel like it doesn't get much of a hype.
Yeah. Okay. And so that was our underrated books. Yeah. What do you have for overrated?
This one you've mentioned is going to be controversial.
I do think you're about to ruffle the internet's feathers. Yes.
Especially among the fantasy
Perhaps.
lovers
Yeah,
and
perhaps.
Greek mythology. But for me, it was Circe by Madeline Miller. I just couldn't get into it, and I feel like there was way more happening than there needed to be. Like, which is common for Greek mythology, for, you know, a million things to happen in one story.
Right.
But it's just a little, it wasn't really my style of book, my genre.
I think this is the only book we both read.
I think so.
Is that right? So I also didn't totally connect with Circe, but it was like very applauded in my like fantasy circles and people that I listen to or read their opinions on books.
Yeah.
I agree. It's like true to mythology, but like mythology is weird.
Yeah.
You know, like a lady sprouts out of her father's head in mythology. That's a thing. So like the weirdness I felt belonged in Circe. I also think there was a lot of like motherhood or like womanhood aspects of the book that are probably important to be talked about, important to be read, and it touches upon like the dangers of childbirth and like postpartum, you know, difficulties and things like that. But there's a little of it that kind of made me like feel uncomfortable. So I could see how some aspects of it people would really like latch onto and applaud for it being like discussed, but it was just a little bit of a weird read. I would agree. It almost made my overrated list. I ended up going with The Owl Service by Alan Garner, and I think I just didn't get it. It's described as like low fantasy, and it was like low fantasy, and I was reading it wondering while I read it, like, am I missing like the theme or like the message of this book here? Because I finished it and just felt like nothing really had happened, and I wasn't super invested in the characters. It was just kind of fell flat for me.
Yeah. That's how I felt about the Dictionary of Lost Words. And it was just like, it was different than I thought it would be, and I was kind of like, am I missing the point of this book? Because it's getting all this hype on social media, and it sounded interesting, but it ended up being totally different than I thought it would be. I found myself like, do I really want to finish this?
Right.
It's just kind of dragging on.
Okay. What are you... So that's more or less our review of the year, of some of the highlights of what we read. Actually, you want a curveball? Do you want any like honorable mentions? Do you have any like books you kind of want to talk about that didn't fit totally perfectly in any of these?
Oh, well, yeah, because I have several books that I read that I was like, ooh, this is really good.
Yeah.
One of which is The Silent Patient, by Alex Michaelides. Michaelides. This has been on my to be read list for well over a year, and I finally read it, and it was really good. It lived up to the hype. I've seen a lot of people
pumping it up,
and there's a major plot twist that I didn't expect, which is unusual for me because
you're usually pretty good at
so it was really cool. I liked that, and then I also really liked The Guest List by Lucy Foley. It follows like 6 different characters' perspectives, and the whole time some terrible thing has happened, but you don't know what or who may have done it until
done it,
like the very end. And so you're just constantly, like, you're hearing all these different perspectives, and like, oh, they might have motive to do this to this person, and they might have motive to do this to this other person. So it just kind of keeps you guessing, which was really cool. And that one had another like surprise twist at the end that I was very like pleasantly surprised by.
Yeah, that's fun to be kind of like thrown for a twist. Honorable mentions for me is it's like, can I make a single one of our podcasts or videos without talking about a Brandon Sanderson book?
No.
I almost did, and I can't have that. So I read the Stormlight Archive, the first 4, I believe, which is all that is out at the moment. And, just like ate it up. Yeah. So it could have contended for my favorite read with Jade City, but I couldn't let a video go by without at least talking a little bit about Brandon Sanderson. So I did really much enjoy the Stormlight Archive. The characters are really like some of them are relatable, others like aren't, but they're engaging and they're all unique. And I think it's really cool how an author can like capture so many different personalities and kinds of people, which is something that Brandon Sanderson does really well.
I don't think a day goes by in our house where you don't talk about Brandon Sanderson.
Right. Yeah, we might need like a cardboard cutout or something for him to just be part of the conversations. Maybe. So does that get us to, you want to talk about like children's literature now?
Sure.
Okay, so
oh wait, we didn't talk about most anticipated.
Rewind it back. I was trying to think if there's like a literature version of Rewind. Edit it back. What are you most excited to read in 2023?
Well, I have right now like 30 books on my to-be-read list.
Okay.
I'm excited to read all of them.
Right.
But Spells for Forgetting by Adrienne Young. This is one that we both might read. And it just seems kind of like magical and mystical, so I'm excited about that. And I also want to read Daisy Jones and the Six by Taylor.
Wait, is
Jenkins
it up there?
Reid? No, but I know who it's by. I just partly because it's a historical fiction. It takes place during like the 60s or 70s, which is a cool era. Reese Witherspoon talks
our trusted guide.
Yes, very highly about it, and she's making a miniseries.
Oh, a miniseries.
Yeah, and like everything she touches turns to gold. So
yeah.
I definitely want to check that out before the miniseries comes out. Right around your birthday.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're welcome.
Happy birthday to you.
Yeah, you're welcome for that. Was this anticipated reads? Is that what we're doing? What we're most excited? Okay, yes. I'm here. For me, I think of The Sword of Kaijin, or Kaijin, which I believe kind of has like a Japanese kind of fantasy vibe to it, if I'm remembering correctly, but it's really getting like pumped up on social media and whatnot. And I think, at least as of right now, it's a standalone, which is kind of appealing to me. Like I don't feel like I'm committing to like a trilogy or some ongoing
14 book
Wheel of Time, Dresden Files kind of hole that I often find myself going down. So that's definitely like high up on my priority list. And I already mentioned I want to finish off the Green Bone saga. That's the Jade City. That's Jade City's part of the Green Bone saga. So that's also kind of high up on my to be read list. My game plan for 2023.
Nice. My this year my goal was to read just one book a month, and I ended up reading So 12 books a year. I ended up reading, I'm on 19.
Okay.
So my goal for next year is to do at least 24.
Okay, yeah.
And I want to try different genres also. I want to like read more biographies, memoirs, just see if there are other genres that I might be interested in, like this year when I expanded.
Yeah. Yeah, that's awesome. I think 2 books a month is totally like respectable. You know, you see a lot of people on TikTok and Instagram and what have you that have read like over 100 books. And maybe they're parents of toddlers. But probably not. Probably not. So, you know, a lot of, I think, our content on this channel will be about like parenthood and getting kids to develop a love for reading and things like that. And along with parenthood comes, you know, carving out time for yourself and to read. So yeah, I think 24 books would be awesome, an awesome goal for 2023. Should we transition to like children's corner?
Sure.
So we have a couple. We each chose our favorite children's book that we read with our littles this year.
We have two little girls, 3.5 and 1.5.
Yeah. So all of their reading is our reading.
Yes.
Unless they're making stuff up, which
so
happens
really
sometimes.
We've read probably at least 1,000 books this year.
Yeah. Take that, Bookstagram. Yeah, that's what they call it, Bookstagram. Yeah. I'm pretty in with the trends, you know.
So we our girls love reading, which is wonderful.
We're thankful for.
We're so thankful for.
Yeah.
Often they like reading the same books over and over again.
Yes.
So we're pretty mindful in what books we read or check out from the library or buy. And these are a few of our favorites.
Yeah. You want me to go? That felt like you were setting me up to go. So mine is, we have props now. The World Needs Who You Were Made to Be by Joanna Gaines. And it's really cute. The illustrations are also very like, am I allowed to show this kind of stuff on these? You know, like it's like,
I think so.
Look at the book. Really cute illustrations, and it just like celebrates how people are different. And some people might like to plan out every aspect of their balloon, their hot air balloon. And some people might just want to like throw it together with what's at hand.
That's you.
I didn't do that intentionally, but and all those kinds of people are like celebrated in this book. So it's got a great message. It's pretty, and I could read this over and over again.
Yeah.
Which was part of my consideration.
Yes. Because
as you mentioned, sometimes we read the same book quite frequently. What about yours?
The World Needs Who You Were Made to Be is also one of my favorite. I think the illustrations are beautiful. And the girls and I like to pick out which hot air balloon is our favorite.
Oh, okay.
And the message is great. I love it. And we do try and intentionally choose books with good messages about being yourself and whatnot. So, but my one of my favorites is called Be Kind by Pat Zitlo Miller, and this was our oldest favorite.
Yeah, we read that a lot.
Like every single day for probably at least 6 months.
Yeah.
I like this one because of the message. And I like the illustrations. And it's just talking about what it means to be kind and how there are different ways to be kind. And how, like, maybe you don't have to go above and beyond to be kind, but doing small acts of kindness can grow into bigger acts of kindness. So we We really love this one.
Yeah, yeah. We wore through that one for sure.
Yeah. And surprisingly still in pretty good condition.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be providing also in shorter form content, different tips and whatnot to get kids reading, or our advice and things like that, in terms of littles reading. But that's not to say that the TV's not on plenty of times in our house. We also have a lot competing with our kids' attention, with books. So I think a lot of that journey will be very relatable and helpful to other parents and guardians out there as well. Yeah. Do we have a sign off? No, not really. If you made it this far in the video, or if you're listening in your car, or whatever it might be going on, thank you. That's awesome. That's very nice. You're probably my mom. If you made it this far, yeah, you're probably one of our parents. But we appreciate that very much. We are available on most of the socials as a novel family. Instagram, Twitter, TikTok. This will be going up on YouTube. Hello YouTube, might be how you're watching this. We a lot of plans for getting this out there in podcast form and whatnot. But you can find us on just about everywhere as a novel family, and we'd appreciate the follows and the likes, and if you get in early, like grassroots, like right now, you could send us a message and be like, hey, talk about this book, or what do you think of this? And we'll probably be able to address that. Because it's just you and our parents. Yeah.
Cousins.
Yeah, and the cousins. Yeah.
Best friends.
Yeah, our best friends and our cousins, and best friends and cousins. If you want to submit a question, we'll pretend you're just a fan, and we'll answer that. Yeah. No shame?
No.
Great.
No shame.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks, Internet. Is that how we do that? Bye.
I have no idea.
Invisible hat tip? I don't know at what point we're editing this. Still going.
No.
Now. Probably now.